Hello, everybody. Welcome back to UKLC. We're moving shortly on to our first game of the day, first series of the day, Jamada. MNM Gaming up against Resolve Academy. You can't hide behind best of one results now. The variance is going to be much lower.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I can't recall exactly who it was that we spoke to off the MNM roster in particular, but they said, I think it was Milo, one of the support staff. They said, in the best of three, we're going to have time to adapt between the series, win or lose. And to me, that's kind of scary, because if MNM are able to adapt after a loss and go straight back into it and say, okay, this is where we went wrong, chances are, I would imagine on the same day, they won't make the same mistake twice, but we've seen worse from MNM, so we'll have to see. But from the side of Resolve, I think it's also a great opportunity for them as well, because we've seen very close and not necessarily cut and dry games come out of them, especially even, honestly, the MNM game in the second round robin when they had Regan come in. I think it was maybe the third game that they had him. That game was incredibly close. There was not a lot of distance between those two teams. In fact, you could even argue Resolve looked like they were going to win right up until MNM secured the Baron, and then they found the team fight in the mid lane. So I'm looking towards Resolve and I'm saying, can you prove MNM wrong? What exactly are you going to do today that's different to that second round robin matchup? Because I think there is definitely room for Resolve to take this series today. So for me, a lot of focus is going to be on them.
Well, we're into picks and bans. As you can see, we've got Fresh, Lee Sin, and Zinzao all locked into the bans, and Tristana as well. Nothing super surprising. Are there any really spicy picks that we should be watching out for from these two teams?
Well, I was actually going to say the Diana for both of these two junglers, but I'm never going to ban it away. Not that it's necessarily too spicy, but of course, it's something that both these teams have prioritized. Things like the Gwen and Viego are both up at the moment, so keep our eyes on that. Both these teams definitely do play those two picks. So one of them's going to have to be up, and I wonder if Resolve are actually going to remove away a different champion entirely, like that Renekton, and then actually trade out between the two. Make MNM pick either the Viego or the Gwen themselves, or maybe just neither, because they're going to first pick the Ziggs, and then it's over to Resolve to see what they want to actually trade back.
Well, I mean, they could trade back with the Gwen Viego double pick, which super strong champions across the board, but a couple of players have struggled in the UKLC and NLC as well to really make these picks work. We saw in the highlight packages, Akaz was definitely one of the players whose understanding of Gwen is very, very good, but he's not in this game. He's in the next series. Whether Ken Ruto or Bakako, I always get that name wrong, it always trips me, is going to be the answer on this Viego. We'll have to find out, but that's Meku's Ezreal, and this one's a very strong pick for him.
Yeah, it definitely is. Trying to match some of the range that the Ziggs can put in the bottom lane. I'm expecting the Ziggs to actually be Joppers in this case, and the Lucian pick is definitely going to solidify that thesis. So trying to pick a little bit of safety, a little bit of scaling to match what the Ziggs can put out sort of come the late game stages. It's definitely not going to match the wave clear, so I'm expecting already from the bottom side of the map, MNM should have priority down there. With the Lucian pick, I'm waiting to see exactly what Otto's going to lock in. So we're not on 11.15 where you can just lock in Syndra and that'll be the easy rotation into it. It's actually going to be Camille coming out. So I'm expecting that to be Kenru, as I don't necessarily think it's going to go anywhere else. But yeah, in the mid lane, I'm expecting MNM now to ban out two champions, which they don't necessarily want to deal with when it comes to the Lucian matchup. And then Resolve, I guess, two more top lane bans that they don't want to have this Camille laning into, something side lane based out of Aragon's champion pool. But instead, no, okay, they're going to remove away the Nautilus themselves, which is definitely interesting because they've got support to lock in for Regan, but they have definitely put a fair amount of priority in terms of what they want to put Regan on. So giving them comfort could definitely be an angle for Resolve.
I mean, Tom Kench exists on this patch in the state that he's in, so it could be an option down in that bot side if you want to go something super safe. A Yuumi as well with that Ezreal could be a direction that Resolve could look to go in, but it's not going to be the Karma, as that one is also being taken off the table. But it's definitely interesting to see that you pick the solo laners and then go, actually, we're going to just kind of focus away a different role that we haven't really got any information on. So we'll have to see exactly what they make stick in the final couple of bans, and then what is going to be prioritized by these two teams moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, the Nautilus ban does, in a way, definitely make sense, right? Because if you do have Ziggs Nautilus in the bottom lane, it doesn't matter who you are. You get Arcade, and then all of a sudden you get global Zigzard across the map. And there's no real way of dodging that center damage. And Rakan is also Resolve. Actually, two smart bans because MNM are lacking a fair amount of hard engage right now. So they do need to set up. The bans do make sense. And honestly, with that in mind, it wouldn't surprise me to see Resolve do something like Leona on this rotation just to strip away another strong engage tool from MNM themselves. and 2 utility bans away from MNM, Seraphine and Karma. I think it definitely makes sense. You've got 2 bruisers, and then you've also got the Ezreal. It's a very strong combination to have those kind of utility picks with. And the only other meta one in the Lulu doesn't necessarily fit too well with this composition unless you were to put it in the mid lane. And that's going to be an Olaf pick. So definitely throwing down the gauntlet in terms of the early game for Resolve here towards the top side. And I'm starting to wonder where exactly this Camille's going to go, because if there was somebody in the league that would pull out something kind of wild like the Camille support, which we used to see way back when for a little while, it would maybe be Regan, because he's done something like Poppy. It's not out of his wheelhouse, but for now, it looks like we are going to get the Shen lock-in. Gives MNM a little bit of global presence, and to me it says, okay, we're playing towards mid, we're probably going to play towards bot off of the mid lane priority, and we want a bit of extra safety, and Aragon's Shen definitely will provide that. He's always had a very stable Shen when it comes to his gameplay, and now I'm expecting this to be Clox's lock-in. I don't actually think that's going to be Shen support, though never know. But yeah, there you go, something safe. Braum seems to be the answer. So actually a very reactive team comp from MNM, which is a bit of a different look. But I think when you take into consideration the last time these 2 teams met, Resolve were actually a very, very proactive team on the map. In fact, you could even argue they were equal or sort of a little bit ahead of MNM in a lot of the plays in the early game. So MNM, with that in mind, maybe looking at this slightly more defensive draft in the early game with a couple more offensive options as the game goes on, and it's actually going to be Bard. So we are going to see a full top side of AD. So some of the itemization is going to be a little easy for MNM, but definitely for Resolve, a lot of freedom to make some plays around the map when it comes to, you know, the Bard being able to roam with this Olaf. The skirmishing power is definitely there.
I'm just looking to make sure that we know exactly who's going to be picking what. I think we are expecting the Lucian to go into that mid lane, but you know, Lucian Braum, it's a throwback. It's a very, very strong aggressive bot lane if they want to go that direction. But I think it is going to be the Ziggs Braum. So as you say, something that's a little bit less aggressive, but a very, very safe pickup in the bot side. But with the Ezreal Bard coming through, that's a lot of poke, a lot of damage when they're both in lane together. And we said that Resolve Academy really thrive when their support can get around the map. First when FGG did it, and now when Regan does it in a different way, but to the same extent. And picking up the Bard means that their support's going to be all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with a pick like Ezreal, I wouldn't be surprised to see Regan, you know, hit level 3 and then just leave him in the lane by himself. Because realistically, Ziggs Braum isn't the greatest diving duo in the world. So I don't expect the crazy amount of aggression to come out when it comes to, you know, stacked waves meeting Mikey rather. So yeah, honestly, I'm looking towards Bakako here with Regan roaming up towards the mid lane, securing early dragons just off of the amount of pressure and skirmishing power that, you know, a duo like that can have. That being said, on the opposite side, Gwen, Lucian, Braum, skirmishing into them is going to be difficult. I think once you hit level 6, then you bring in the, you know, the aspects of Diego having the resets for the Heartbreaker, and then maybe things can sort of tilt back in their favor. But the more I think about it, it just seems like we're going to get sort of a mechanics check skirmish kind of battle once we hit those level 6 marks in general, because it just wouldn't be an MNM Resolve match without it, really.
I mean, that's exactly what we want to see from a match like this, right? It's the first game of the best of 3, so losing this one isn't the end of your run. So having this opportunity to just go up against your opposition and go, right, which of us is better? Which individual players are going to be beating out in lanes today? Because there's a lot of really, really close matchups in a lot of these positions. Because you look at mid lane, for example, Vango versus Otter. That's a super close, tense matchup between two very, very good players. You look top, Aragon versus Kenruto.
2 best tops in the league.
Yeah, so easy as. I think Akers probably feels a little bit bad about not being mentioned in that conversation, but you look at everyone has been hyped Aragon this whole season, rightfully so, been really, really, really good. Kenruto, a little bit more quiet, but you look at the stats, you look at the figures, has been the most impressive top laner in the league. So we'll have to see who's going to stand up and be counted as we move on to the Rift for our first game of this best of 3 semi-final. MNM Gaming on the blue side versus Resolve Academy on the red side.
Yeah, and like you say, it doesn't really matter where you look matchups across the board. You're looking at, you know, best in position versus second best in position, nearly from top to bottom, or, you know, maybe third in some cases. Depends on who and what you value more. As a Resolve, they're stacking here. They're expecting somebody from MNM to go for a ward, but Dunica just kind of walked out, didn't drop a ward, and then bought a sweeper. So instead, you won't find a pick there, but definitely you can tell it's something that MNM have done on the blue side a couple of times. I can remember off memory. So good they've one prep, and I believe they do know that ward was dropped at the red buff. So I imagine Godonika's just going to sweep this one out. We'll share some of that XP. That's why he didn't drop the ward. He wanted the sweeper early. Now it does bring a little more, you know, a couple more questions for Resolve in terms of whether they necessarily feel like Godonika's going to have started on this red buff, because he would have had time to walk up to the blue if you want to be super, you know, mind gamey about it. But he's just going to start from the red, and so is Bakako. So we're expecting full clears out of both of these junglers. Olaf does still clear quite quickly.
Yeah.
I know we don't see him too often these days, but his clear speed is quite strong. And I wouldn't necessarily even want to see either of these champions not go for that full 6-cam clear.
Is there aggression? Could we be seeing aggression from either of these junglers? Actually, in the bot lane we're seeing a little bit, but nothing to write home about. Regan just going to be ignited and forced away by clocks. But yeah, are we going to see Olaf or Gwen really wanting to gank early and often?
I'm really not too sure. I mean, it's about the setup, right? I think the setup is certainly there for the top side, but, you know, ganking either of these champions is a little bit difficult. Aragon, however, almost ate a much worse trade if he didn't hit level 2. He did force Kenro out of the trade, so took a little less damage. But yeah, ganking these, you know, the two top laners, you know, you've got to deal with the hook shot and the taunt respectively. The lockdown isn't necessarily going to be quite so easy for either of the junglers who don't really have a whole bunch of CC, right? You know, it's pretty much just slows and the exhaust slow in Gwen's case. So I'm looking at more a pathing battle between these two junglers, realistically. Who's going to be utilizing lane priority better, and who's going to be making the most out of, you know, their stronger side lanes. Bakako did just pay a visit into the mid lane, did get Van Gogh's flash, so that could potentially be a pretty big deal considering Otter didn't use his. Means the return gank is definitely a very viable and potent option. You could just see a double flash on Tim. So let's see, Godonika is making his way up to the top side because you can see Kenriro has been beating on Aragon quite poorly, badly. But again, wave setup, you know, it's not necessarily there. Aragon's a little bit too low to taunt in. It's too risky a play, and the wave's massive as well. Just gonna have to back away from that one.
Yeah, it's gonna force Camille to be a little bit wary and to stop bullying Aragon for a moment or two, but isn't going to achieve much more than that. And yes, Van Gogh's lost his flash mid, but this is a Lucian, right? So you can, if you're not using that dash aggressively, you're kind of okay being ganked by Olaf as long as you can dodge out that first undertow. As soon as those axes and those slows start landing, things are pretty unpleasant. But here's Clocks coming into the mid lane, looking for Otter to get the concussive blows down, but no stun available. Otter has to flash away, and now there's no summoner advantage in the mid lane at all.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a big relief in the mid lane. Otter being able to flash on top of Van Gogh with the Spectral Maw definitely makes for relatively easy setup for a return gank from the Resolve side. So him not having that flash is definitely very nice, and you can see the CS lead starting to build already just because, you know, range versus melee, Lucian being a champion. Now Godonika's coming over because he knows Otter doesn't have flash, but Bakako is still in the area. And looks like we're going to probably see a 2v2 breakout.
Bangor needs to be careful, actually. Very, very slow response from Godonika, but Otter invisible for the second. There's a nice undertow, but I don't think this one's going to come to too much more than that. Godonika just hanging around to make sure, and you can see that Bard is off to the wings as well, but not going to be able to find the perfect angle for a play. Actually, pushing in, might be looking for a dive potentially with the Bard here as well, but everyone from Resolve Academy decides it's time to just back away.
Yeah, that would have seen a dive there as a Regan. He's a bit of a nuisance, but yeah, like we said in the pregame, once Regan hits level 3 and onwards, expect him to just be out of the lane consistently. Ezreal, one of the champions for AD carries in the game that is relatively self-sufficient when it comes to dealing with dives, things of that nature. It's relatively hard to lock him down because he's got Arcane Shift to summon the spells as well. And it will give Regan a lot of freedom. And on the flip side, it also is the same for Clocks, right? Ziggs as well. It's got the satchel to work with. Ezreal isn't exactly the highest damage early game AD carry. He's not really going to be at risk of getting all in, so Clocks can also make his way out here from time to time. Like you've seen already once, he's here again on this wave. I believe it's actually pushing into R, so it's more shadowing this time, looking for a gank opportunity. But nonetheless, everybody's going to be congregating around the mid lane a lot. Seen it a couple of times already, expect to see it a couple more times over the next couple of minutes, especially whilst Dragon's up.
Absolutely, and with Clocks, as we said, that Braum Lucian combination, we saw it so much in lane a couple of seasons ago for a reason. And yeah, while they're not laning together this game, if Clocks is moving around and is mid enough, they basically are. And that one Winter's Bite into Concussive Blow stacking up from Lucian, but here we're going to hold that point because we might get a fight, but Clocks is like, no, bit of a slow, but keep everyone safe and happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just good reads in general from both these teams. Resolve, they know Lucian doesn't have flash, they want to punish him, they're trying to send as many members as they can without losing too much. And Clocks, not seeing Regan on the map, doesn't really have a lot of vision in the bottom side river. I might have to hold this point. Gadonica could get
he does
actually run down. Well, he's got a dash, so he's okay.
It's alright.
So yeah, good reads from Clocks as well. And again, another thing to consider, expect to see very accelerated AD carries, or rather bottom laners when it comes to the XP department. Because they're going to spend so much time alone. They're actually going to be relatively close in XP to some of these solo laners, the junglers as well. As you currently see Joppa and MyQ both level 5 on their way to level 6. Definitely a little further ahead than you would typically see some bottom laners at this point in the game. As again, you know, Fox chilling on this control, he's waiting, he's back. He knows Resolve want to be around the mid lane as much as possible. And he doesn't have to be there for the Ziggs, so doesn't really have anything to lose by doing this.
Yeah, he's just hanging out. You know, we can see moving towards this dragon. It's the Ocean, first on the menu, first of the day. And Gadonica and Clocks are going to be able to clear out the Skull Crab and potentially even look towards this objective. Of course, bot lane's pushed in a little bit from Resolve Academy. Michael and Regan hanging out down there. But it's been potentially a little bit of a slower game than we were necessarily expecting in this one. But
I suppose so. I think when you take a look at the drafts, the only thing you could maybe expect is like some mid lane skirmishing. It would be kind of wild to see like straight up brawling from the get-go. I think this dragon is not even really going to be traded out for anything because of pretty smart pathing from Gadonica, cleared out his topside camps. I'm not quite sure if we got a reset in or not. I wasn't tracking it that well. But with no topside camps, except for the blue buff, which just spawned, which is going to nullify half of my point, but it doesn't really matter. It means that Bakako doesn't really have a whole bunch to trade for. Just Aragon, unfortunately, with the poor wave positioning, this time he's got to be a little respectful of a cross-map onto him. Hextech or Mayhem can lock him down.
And it's one thing, Shen is very, very good at getting involved in other people's problems.
Yeah.
And is not a bad duelist himself, but with the Camille having that ultimate available, you've got to... Do you favor Kenruto in that 1v1 at this point?
I mean, at this point, Shen... well, I mean, with the items they've got right now in the inventories, Kenruto should win in a fair amount of worlds. But Shen, for a little while, is going to win out on this 1v1. Camille doesn't really come online on the side lane until sort of like 2 items or so. Ignore, of course, the reconnect, the disconnect, reconnect. The games are played on slight delay. It's the way that online works. So issue was resolved quite quickly to the point where we didn't even know that was going to be possible. It means we get to keep the action going. Both these teams around the top side now. Kenruto, I believe, broke that freeze, turning it into a slow push. And with Regan here, Otto's got mid lane priority at the moment. It's like they feel comfortable to start this one up. But MNM do have numbers in the area if they want to fight for this. And I mean, why wouldn't they? They are MNM. They're walking into the river.
Yeah, they're going to be starting this one up, but there could well be the first real fight of the game as the Rift Herald goes pretty low. 2,500 with the eye open on the side of MNM, so they could try and get the smite down, but here's the fight, the unstoppable coming through from Olaf, who is going to be able to smite away the objective, gets away on a sliver of health, but the cuts will come down. He doesn't go too low, though, as Kenruto going to be chased away. He's going to be the victim of the first blood in the end. It's going to be Vango securing that one as Resolve Academy. Tail between their legs, needs to get away. Going to be shot down. One more would be enough, but Vango can't find it just yet. Olaf running, potion running. But we'll be able to survive with that blast cut out. But now they turn their attention to the farm. He's under the tower. He gets cut down to side. It's going to be Gadonica securing that one. Decent play across the board. I'm just checking. Nope, no one managed to get that Rift Herald.
The only saving grace for Resolve on this play is that MNM weren't the ones that secured that Rift Herald. If they did, that would have been probably a full topside tower as well, gone. Gold funneled into Vango and Gadonica lightly. So Herald, lost for Resolve, and they don't pick up the fight. It's MNM that come out big and ahead here, as I'm not entirely sure how exactly happens. I think it's just Bakako soaking up too much damage. He pops the ultimate and he's already too low. You can see when you use the ultimate on Olaf, you lose a lot of the resistances and just the taunt as well. 2-man taunt plus another needlework. There's just too much AoE damage and CC coming through on the front line. And Resolve, quite frankly, can't return that level of damage right now. A lot of single target damage on the side of Resolve in this skirmish. Whereas between the Lucian, between the Gwen, just a little bit too much AoE, too many people getting hit at the same time. No one could be focused down individually from the Resolve side of things. As the MNM come out ahead on this skirmish now. They're 2,000 gold up just off the back of that skirmish.
I'll say they've gained themselves a little goal lead. The first notable one that we've had this game so far. We're only 10 minutes in though, so that's not too surprising. But that was a case of what Resolve Academy can do to make the next practice play. Are they the ones who have to be making the next practice play, or are they going to be like, okay, first fight wasn't great, let's just sit back and wait?
I'm not entirely sure, because I mean, I think when it comes to this MNM composition, the more time you give it, you know, the more agency tools it technically does have. And it's allowed to have. So I think if you give, you know, MNM a little bit too much time as Resolve here, then it could potentially be an issue. So yeah, I feel like you have to try and find an angle. But at this point, it's starting to become a little bit difficult, right? You know, mid lane, jungle, they've both got their mythics on the side of MNM. Resolve, they're working at that item disadvantage. So playing skirmishes around the mid lane is going to be relatively difficult. You can't really play bottom side skirmishes when Shen's in the game because he can ult as well. Can always make that a numbers disadvantage. He's always going to be there faster than a teleport can be, so it's always going to be very, very hard to make things happen. You know, because the window's already closed, pretty much. 30 seconds until that Stand United's up. And Resolve, maybe the only angle is actually attacking Aragon himself. And oh, okay, well, there you go.
They're attacking Aragon himself. Bakako and Regan going to be turning off that tower, getting some damage down. Aragon trying to stay alive for as long as possible. The tower will be back on and shooting, but it doesn't matter. Resolve Academy pick up their first kill of the series, and it is on the Shen top.
Yeah, it is on the Shen top. They're going to pick up a couple of plates on the back end of the play as well. I was building up and anticipating that this would be the play, but by the time I'd finished my point, they were already here. So Resolve reading the map quite well. It's going to be traded out on the bottom side. And remember, Joppa is on that Zig, so once they hit that sort of plate in a quarter health threshold, she's going to pop the tower, so they are ahead of tempo on the play. But you can see a couple of plates were still picked up by it's a whole tower. As, oh wow, flash thrown.
They wanted the Ezreal there. They're going to burn his flash, but they do lose a couple of ultimates in order to make that play happen. And the exhaust as well, coming out of Kodonica. So not a bad trade for either team, really. Neither team will be too disappointed in that. As we look towards the second dragon of the game, it's going to be an Infernal, and it's going to be taken by MNM. I can't really see any kind of real contest coming into this one.
No, not at all. Resolve still resetting off the top side play. So they're not going to be here for this one. What's it going to be? It's going to be a mountain. Okay, so definitely the more entertaining of both the two dragons. So actually, I wouldn't have minded a Cloud in a game like this. I think when there's so many key ultimates, fighting over ultimate CDR is honestly a fight worth fighting, if you ask me. Especially when something like Olaf is in the game, Gwen loves it, Lucian loves it, Shen having access to Stand United on a more frequent basis loves it, but unfortunately we do have the Mountain. But quite frankly, giving resist over to either team and then eventually the shield is going to feel really bad for a lot of these champions. They don't really work with a whole bunch of straight up penetration. Vango about to walk into an invade here. It's going to spell out that the red was lost, but consolation prize realistically for Resolve. But the point is, at least they are still trying to take what they can when they can.
They're still going for these plays. They're not just sitting back and letting the game pass them by, which can sometimes be a little bit problematic, especially in these best of series where it isn't just the best of one. You can kind of look at a game and go, right, this one hasn't started perfectly, this one hasn't started the way that we necessarily want. So let's just kind of, we can switch off a little bit. We'll try and be a bit passive and hope that they make a mistake, but worst case scenario, it doesn't really matter. That's not what we're seeing from Resolve Academy, who have found themselves at a little bit of a goal deficit, especially when they've got a couple of champions who are a little bit more proactive, are a little bit more aggressive. You can't really sit back and relax if you're Olaf. That's not really how the champion works. So it's good to see that they're still trying to make a couple of these proactive plays. Yes, they gave away the dragon, but you've got to imagine they're not going to allow themselves to keep hemorrhaging resources.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. A team like Resolve, they are typically very, very willing and happy to try and bite back where they can. They won't just roll over. I don't think I've seen a game even where Resolve, you know, do lose, but they just outright kind of just, you know, sometimes it seems like teams just kind of give up. They run out of gas. Doesn't really feel like you see many or any Resolve games like that. As in terms of what Resolve can actually do from this position, I think it is you have to just try and pick on the global, right? You have to try and pick on the Shen. There's a teleport coming because I guess they're going to actually pick on Kenburo with MNM.
Yeah, they're going to try and make the Camille pay. A lot of damage coming through, but the The shots will be able to get Kenruto out. The Flash is also going to have to use it as Cullen comes down, and Vango actually gets one too many shots into the Camille. Does manage to grab a kill, and it looked like Kenruto was going to survive that.
Yeah, it did for a little while, but Flash committed forward by Vango with the culling is enough, and now we're in a bit of a map split situation because MyQ actually based a bit of an awkward time when this play happens. No one's there to defend the mid lane. Yes, Resolve should get this bottom tier 2, but losing mid tier 1 is honestly going to feel kind of bad, except Bard Armor. Gonna slow down a lot of the tempo on this play. I think Satchel's still going to be there though, yeah. That's just one of the pros of having Ziggs. Fortunately for MNM, and they could even get that tower as well on the top side, so it's going to be a 2-tower trade, I think, in the prolonged, potentially. At the very least, 1 tower plus the Herald. Definitely a very positive trade for MNM. Resolve, they still find something again, but on the losing end of this trade, unless they can find Shen, who steps up a little bit too far. That Flash does have Taunt, but again, they're going to try pick on him. It's just too far back.
Playing very respectfully now, because fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. But you can see Rift Herald has been dropped. It doesn't need the charge on the top tower, so just going to be looking for the second one. Is that a good Rift Herald drop?
Yeah, I mean, if MNM feel like they don't need it for pressure on this third dragon, then tier 2 towers on the side lanes don't forget so much gold, and Bard just uses Ultimate, so they know that then there is no threat of having it actually stopped out. And even if they don't get it right now, they know that's the tower which is effectively sat there with what, 600, 700 HP at 600 gold. It's not a terrible charge. It's not the best. You probably would have wanted the gold right now before your reset. But at the end of the day, you know it is now effectively standing gold. Once this dragon goes down, the focus will likely be back towards the top side for that tower, and of course the Baron will be spawning in around 2.5 minutes time anyway. So not a terrible Herald, not the best either. Now I look towards Resolve and I say, how are you going to skirmish for this dragon?
Well, these are the questions, right? Because this is the third dragon. You can't really afford to give this one up without at least attempting to make a play. In the first couple, it has just been a case of, it's first couple of dragons. It's not that harmful. We don't really want to overcommit and lose stuff. But with this one, it sets up for Soul Point in 5 minutes time.
Yeah.
If they're not able to secure the fight here. And even if they're not necessarily going to be able to steal away the dragon, grabbing themselves some kills, turning that into a tower mid, for example, they're still standing for MNM Gaming, wouldn't be a bad trade. And there's only so long you can allow stuff to pass you by before you have issues. And actually in the top, we're seeing some scrapping. Have we reached the point where Kenruto can look to 1v1 against the Shen?
No.
Not at all?
It's going to be... Alright, you know what? Never mind, I take it back. That was a pretty meaty trade. Maybe she can. I'm actually not too sure on the Iron Breakpoints on this matchup anymore with things like Divine Thunderer, but it seems like Resolve, they're not willing to necessarily give this one up entirely, like you said. I think rightfully so, but Stand United is there and ready to be channeled. If MNM want to get aggressive, and they still do have the item advantage, even though Resolve champions are strong at one item, realistically, MNM are still ahead in the item department themselves.
You could see a fight. You can see Shen has respectfully moved away, going to get that Stand United through. Teleport coming down as well as Gdanica looks to break up the fight, take a decent amount of damage. And look, there goes the Olaf. There goes members of MNM, though. They're going to be chased away. Eragon goes pretty low as Odric Kenruto forces the flash over the wall. Blocks goes golden, but could well fall as well. Michael on the side can't find the skill shots to take down the Braum as Kenruto forced to back away as well. The Ezreal moving forward has a decent health bar, but no one else does. Vango shot the dragon one more time just to make sure that it's still in play as Eragon looks to defend the flank. He's only got about 300 health, so he does need to be careful of any rogue skill shots that might be coming his way. Dragon, confused about who to attack, is just going to fly around a little bit, but it looks like no one's taking the objective this time.
Yeah, we're just going to see a reset on this fight. Joppa does have teleport, so he can actually refresh the resource bars if he wants to. Looks like he is going to do just that. Looks like we'll just get a reset of the fight. Both the junglers died, crucially. But Resolve, Resolve sort of feigning a reset as if they wanted to, potentially just backing up towards the mid lane. MNM, though, trying to set up a death rush. They might not know.
Yeah, they're trying to, and they're going to be able to make it a death rush. There goes Bard. Make you able to step away just in time not to be caught himself as well. But that should be enough of a pick for MNM to pick up the third dragon of the game. They will set up for a reasonably early Soul Point, and Resolve Academy left scratching their heads.
Yeah, definitely so. And at the end of the day, though, you do understand why Resolve have to try and skirmish for that dragon. If you leave it to Soul Point, then you don't have a second chance. But it's always the pros and cons, right? You contest this dragon. If you win, great. If you lose, now you lost gold and you're down Soul Point, and that's exactly what's happened. This fight really close. MyQ dishes out so much damage in response between all of the auto attacks, mystic shots, and the true shot barrage. And unfortunately, Viego doesn't quite get to go on a full-blown reset spree here in this fight. Otherwise, it could have definitely been a very different story here for Resolve. And then, even though spotted out on the sweeper, a little too late, MNM, they dodge out on that checking scouting Mystic Shot, and now actually pick on Oz potentially.
Oz needs to try and get away. We'll be able to do so. Nice double stun from Regan means the Vango's going to take a little bit more damage than he maybe expect, but he's going to go down. Bye-bye, Bard. As Otter is going to be forced to reset as well on the VA. No teleport available. MNM is 21 minutes. The Baron is on the table, but it doesn't look like they're too interested in trying to get it just yet. They're moving towards the mid lane. Maiku's there. You can see Olaf's hanging around as well. And it looks like Glacial Fisher's not going to catch on to anyone. Flash burnt by Ezreal, but a lot of resources being burnt just to keep members of Resolve Academy alive. Yeah,
exactly. Those resources being burnt, and now Maiku doesn't have Flash. And if the last fight is anything to go off of, he is going to be one of the major threats as things progress for team fights for Resolve. So him not having Flash for the next 5 minutes, it won't be up for the next Dragon. It's not going to be up if the Baron attempt starts. It's a very big deal. Trying to pick on clocks a little, but not really going to amount to much. Now Resolve, I'm looking at their inventories, looking at the item specs, right? Kenuro, he's working towards, with the extra Ruby Crystal, I'm actually expecting it to be a Titanic Hydra, not a Ravenous. Bakako still needs a little while until he hits that Sterax. Otter going towards the Blade of the Ring King. And Maiku needs, I would imagine, a couple hundred more gold until he's got that Muramana ready to purchase. So once they do have these items come in, things can start to look bright for Resolve. Because quite frankly, MNM, if we could actually swap back to the items just briefly, you can see, you know, they're actually kind of matching on items for the most part. But that hasn't really been too big of a factor. The only person that's actually, you know, ahead by a relatively wide margin is the person on our screen here, Vango. Muramana, Eclipse, got the second Dirk as well. It's a pretty interesting build. He did message me because he did do this last week. I was a little bit confused, but I understood it. I kind of took it as the same thought process behind things like Jace, for example, who do this build path.
Yeah.
Lucian doesn't really need to get a whole bunch of auto attacks in to deal loads of damage. He is kind of... He's not bound by attack speed because of the double shot passive. So things like Culling and the Piercing Light, they scale quite well off of Lethally. Now, Aragon, in the long run, could potentially get run down, but I imagine he's going to be fine walking towards Joppa.
Kenrita's legs got tired, so just like, no, do you know what? I'm really not interested in chasing you up all these hills, so I'm just going to walk away.
How does somebody with scissor legs get tired? That seems...
Well, no, because you can still get tired, because you're still having to exert, like, energy to move, aren't you?
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right.
I was talking to someone earlier who was like, so I asked on the, I think it was a post show, actually, we're going to have to hold that point because Otter going to be chased. That's fine. This is less important than my point.
That's all right.
So I was saying, how does Camille not just ruin everyone's flooring whenever she goes into a house? And I can't remember who it was. It might have been Rael who said, like, surely she has metal shoes that are specifically designed to go on the ends of her legs. But I've never seen Camille wearing metal shoes. So, you know.
I mean, it depends on how much he weighs, right? Because she's, like, partially made of metal. So I guess if the pressure isn't so great, then...
Well, she's
like,
pretty tall, isn't she?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? She's really tall, so I guess she's got to weigh, like, a fair amount. Because, you know, if she's heavy and she's got the scissor legs, then she's tearing up floors. There's no way about it.
Well, it's also just like a case of she'll just leave little, like, if it's like a hardwood floor, nice hardwood floor, it's gonna get ruined if someone's just slamming it whenever they walk around. Even if she's light on her feet and quite graceful, she's still gonna damage people's flooring. And if I was like a Piltover noble and she came into my house and started scuffing up my floors, I'd be furious. That's all I'm saying.
I would be too, right. Let's game. 30 seconds of still salt. That Muramana has come in for Maiku, but across the board, the only other person that managed to finish up a second item is Kenruro. So everybody's still working with scraps, whereas on the opposite side, Serpent's Fang finished, Serap's Embrace finished. Stopwatch picked up for both Gdanica and Aragon, two members who weren't able to finish up second items. So realistically, you know, pretty big team fight impact those stopwatches can have. I don't know if Resolve are ready to fight this, and quite frankly, I don't think they are. You take a look at the positioning here, there's no vision on this side of the map for Resolve either. Kenruro checking now, but realistically, I don't know how positive this fight can be.
He's gone to Vango, a decent amount of damage to the ultimate. He's down. The Stand United's been burnt, so he's not going to be able to get into the fray as quickly. Clocks is now going to be the target, but he's going to be able to get away. Nice on catches onto Gdanica as Otto moves into the back line. They're going to be able to kill the dragon and look for the fight. Clocks surviving on a sliver of health means it's only going to be the one pick, but that's the power of the Camille, baby.
That is the power of the Camille. The engage is just so damn fast, so responsive to Vango's positioning. Vango doesn't even get to flash. it happens so quickly. Stand United gets channeled, but doesn't actually complete. And Resolve, they find the pick right in front of the Dragon. MNM caught a little bit sleeping, not necessarily all on top of each other. It means they're able to find Vango in that scenario. It's a pretty free pick now. I don't think they're going to start this one. Okay. Oh, well. Let's see how this goes. Teleport's being channeled. Oh my god, no way.
They're committed. No one from Resolve Academy.
No way.
So this could be going down.
They're resetting. They just don't know. They just don't know.
So there's no one.
Oh my goodness.
Except the Shen. It's perfect crime.
Wow. Either they gave that one up willingly or they just didn't know. And I don't know what one upsets me more. But MNM, again, a creative Baron takedown, right? You would normally expect, after a Dragon fight like that, a team to just probably reset, like clear out the vision reset. You wouldn't necessarily think, okay, they're going to start Baron in this small window. So hats off to MNM for making the Baron work. Resolve, off the back of what was honestly a godsend pick into a Dragon. They lose out on the Baron, so now they're going to have to sit through this buff for the next couple of minutes. It's fortunately not going to eclipse the next Dragon spawn itself, though. So that's definitely a big deal in terms of not having to deal with buffed up members in front of a soul fight. But at the end of the day, the Baron off the table, it means MNM a lot of freedom to kind of make picks wherever they want. Bakako eating a lot of damage there. And it seems like the answer for MNM is going to be a siege out through the bottom side of the map here. They're going to let Otto push on the top side. He doesn't have teleport. 4 members on the bottom side. They keep Aragon towards the mid lane top side. And then they ping out the wave. So I think they know, you know, by the time the next wave actually crashes, someone will potentially have to go and, you know, catch it. But at the end of the day, MNM with the Baron on the bottom side. So Resolve are going to have to respond to this more than MNM realistically have to respond to that top wave. And Stand United's up. So with everybody being on top of each other, don't expect as snappy an engage this time around. Ooh. United forward prematurely.
Been used now. They're going to start this fight because they've used the resources. They get a lot of damage going on onto Bakako, but not going to be able to secure the kill onto the Olaf, who makes his way under tower. Members of Resolve Academy are all up that corridor, but going to have to back away. Can't find the flank, can't find the damage. And now the siege is going to continue. Yeah, it's going to below half health. Remember, they have a Ziggs, so the health bar is actually significantly lower than it actually looks. As Yoppa going to be able to blow that one up. The base is cracked very, very early on from MNM Gaming. They're moving towards this inhibitor. They want to try and take this one as much as they can as well, and their health bars are all looking really, really good. The second wave's here, which means another and more bodies. Teleport is coming through from Kenruto. Can't find the flank, so let's get back into the base. The Hunter's already gone, and that could be a huge, huge pick up here for MNM Gaming. They're going to step forward and try and take the first Nexus now, and we'll be able to do it. Satchel not even burnt on that one, so they're going to be able to use it on the second one if they continue this push. Resolve are defending as 4. MNM are pushing as 5, but the minion wave is just the cannon, so they can't step forward towards these towers because they'll take too much damage. But speaking of damage, gets burnt through. He will survive. He will be able to get back to base to heal. But here comes the minion wave that MNM Gaming have been waiting for. Remember, Satchel is going to burn through that tower. The fight is going to have to be now. The tower's gone though, and Resolve Academy are in shambles, unstoppable, and going down. Camille will fall. Going to rise up again, but the taunt lands this time around. Kenruto going to be called out. Does go down. Mikey will follow swiftly afterwards unless he can get away from Aragon. Will be able to do so on a sliver of health as Regan also retreats under that tower. It just doesn't matter though. They're going to be able to get one more kill before taking the game. MNM Gaming 1-0 on the series.
Yeah, 1-0. They take the first game of the series. And with that, I'm looking towards Resolve because honestly, from MNM's point of view, a really good game. The creative Baron effectively won them that game. So, you know, hats off to them. MNM were definitely playing a very surprisingly proactive game considering their composition. I was expecting, you know, Resolve to be, you know, first to a lot more of these plays, but in a lot of cases, it was the lane priority that won out for MNM. But now I look towards Resolve and I say, how will you respond exactly to going down 1-0 in this series? And I think for me, it definitely comes down to, on some of these cross-map plays, securing a little more gold, right? Trying to predict and expect where MNM are going to attack and then, you know, pre-plan and go and make a play on the opposite side of the map and actually secure gold back so you're not just outright losing every single trade, because that was what was happening here on the map for Resolve. For me, they were losing out, you know, small increments at a time, 300, 400, 500, 600, and eventually it built up to the point where they were a little bit too far behind when it came to those third and, you know, respectively, yes, 4th Dragon, they did find the pick, but then they, you know, they got caught with their pants down and they lose the Baron, and that's what won them the game.
It was one of those things where there wasn't one big, oh no, we've lost this game moment until maybe that Baron play. But even that was just a case of, okay, we didn't have the vision, so they took the objective. But then they just lost the game off the back of it. Resolve Academy, back to the drawing board. We know that MNM Gaming said that they could adapt in a best of 3 scenario. We're going to have to find if Resolve Academy can do the same. We're going to jump to a short break. When we come back, we're breaking down this game even further. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.